Hey King Ryan, in sparring, I injure you with a body shot, and now you lose to Tank. I am sorry. Are you okay?
What's good, people? It's about that time to randomly relate reverse rants, no hate. So, I want to talk about four fighters. Okay, first fighter I want to talk about. Really, the topic of this video is out of these four fighters, which fighter do you think has the best chance of bouncing back and being better than they were? Okay, I don't mean just come back and win a fight, even if they win the fight and unanimously or knockout. But I mean come back and like they're actually better than they were. Like for example, how Lennox Lewis was a good fighter and he basically had that seek and destroy style. He got beat by Oliver McCall. He wound up training with Emmanuel Stewart. Emmanuel Stewart had him working behind his jab, not being so impatient, going for the kill without being smart, without gauging what's going on, took that recklessness away. Okay, controlled aggression. And Lennox Lewis was considered a late bloomer in boxing. So Lennox Lewis ended up, not becoming punch shy because he got knocked out. And actually, even with Emmanuel Stewart, he got knocked out by Hassan Rahman. But of course, that's the only two losses of his career. And he came back and avenged both of those losses. He made basically, he helped Oliver McCall make his mind up to just quit. He didn't want any more. And he knocked Hassan Rahman out in the fourth round in their rematch. So, but you could see that Lewis was a better fighter overall. That's what I mean. He didn't just come back and start winning fights, doing the same things that he was known for. He wasn't limited to, I can do this, but I can't do that. You could see like he was better, working behind his jab, fighting off the back foot if he need to, getting in, getting out, controlling the range, understood how to get the right distance. And with Lewis, once he got super confident, you knew, because he started leaning forward, dropping his hands, jabbing with his hands down, and it's like, okay, I can touch you, but you can't touch me. I got you. So that's what I mean. You can clearly see this is a different guy. Okay, like he's a better fighter, not so much a different guy, a better fighter. Added the proper tools to, his arsenal. Now, first fight I'm gonna talk about is because remember, okay, which one of these fighters do you think has the better chance, okay, of bouncing back from a defeat and becoming a better fighter than they were? I'm just repeating that so you guys get it. So you don't have a bunch of comments in the comment section that has nothing to do with what I'm saying. Okay. First fight I'm going to talk about is Savannah Marshall. Now, she lost her fight to Clarissa Shields. I didn't like the build up to that fight because to me it was just a lot of BS going around, and I don't even feel like it was really coming from Savannah. I think people around her was trying to hype her up to say these things and to try to make it, something that it really wasn't. For one, if you saw the fight between Savannah Marshall and Clarissa Shields in the Olympics, first off, she was given a decision that most people feel that Clarissa Shields won. The people at the press conferences and people in her corner, they made it sound like she went there and destroyed Clarissa Shields, which is why I never understood the point of you trying to build something up to be what it was like what it wasn't. How does that help you going forward? Okay, so I look at that, and when they fought, they're not even close in skill level. Okay, basically Clarissa just destroyed her. She the thing was, Savannah fought back the best way she could, but she showed you there's levels, and she's not on Clarissa's level. Plain and simple, Clarissa's just that much better. Now, how she bounced back? Well, she has a fight with Franchon Cruz Dezern coming up, and we don't know yet. But in terms of her training, in terms of her preparation, her heart, her mindset, this is what we always want to see when a fighter comes back. Like, what's different? What are they able to sustain? Are they able to, get better? I don't know how she's taking it. I feel like, she said that it still gets to her. She said this, okay? I think it's more than just the fact she lost. It's who she lost to. Because they tried to build this whole thing like Savannah Marshall is just indestructible. And so for her to lose, before she lost to Shields, everything was Savannah, Savannah, Savannah. But as soon as she lost, oh, well, for me, it's Katie Taylor. Because Katie Taylor's this and this and this. Yeah. And as soon as somebody beats Katie Taylor, they'll find somebody else to abandon Katie Taylor for. And that's just the way things go. Okay. I heard Savannah Marshall say she learned that boxing is a very cruel, cutthroat business. She didn't expand on that. And so, I don't know all the elements that went into her saying that. But it really is a cutthroat business. Savannah Marshall makes facial expressions when she's asked certain questions and things. Like, she looks unsure about a lot of things. And, like, sometimes she looks like she kind of gets, like, into a quick, deep thought. Like, things that happen. I believe she sounds like she's been stabbed in the back. I think she probably had people turn their back on her. People that she thought she could trust, she found out she couldn't. It could be all of that type of stuff. Now, how this affects you going forward, because people go through a lot of things. And people think the only thing that a fighter goes through is what the news get a hold of or what they explain to you in front of a camera. So, how she bounces back, we'll just have to see. And the mindset that she has, the confidence that she has, where she is right now, is she doubting herself? Any of these things, we don't know right now. A person can talk and say things that will give you a clear indication of that at times, but we don't know. Peter Fury, I'll say this for her, at least having him in the corner, he was the only one really talking with some sense as far as, he said some things trying to assure that Savannah was going to win, but so now, remember the people when I was mocking her, when she was saying, I'll hit you, and I'll stop you, and I'm saying, it sounds good, but Clarissa's not the rest of those females she fought. Yeah, but she's not those females that Clarissa's fought. Yeah, but guess what? At the end of the day, you can see there's a difference in skill level between the two. But they thought her power was going to be enough. And that's all you kept hearing, her power, her power, her power. So when it's working for you, it's all good. But when she got in there with Clarissa and realized, damn, I can't hit her as clean as I want. When I do hit her, she's taking it. And so you fought a woman who you hit, and she said she couldn't see out of her right eye. Through the whole 6th round, I think it was, she said. But you never know. And Clarissa got fuck dog. She got wolf in her, man. She just fought and kept going. So, Savannah was outboxed. She's outclassed. It's not like she was brutally hurt, and so physically she should be fine. It's always the mental aspect is what we don't know. So a fighter can come in the ring, shredded up, abs, everything, but we don't know what's in here, and in here. So we'll see, and we can gauge it better after she fights, Franchin, and we'll see. Okay, the next fighter on that list, and all these fighters have had losses. This is why the topic is what it is Joe Joyce. Now, for Joe Joyce, let me say this. The Juggernaut has terrible mechanics overall. He works behind his jab at times. He's not consistent. See, this is the thing. The thing that he does good, that works for him, that will make the fight easier, those things are basically his ability to take a punch, relentless pressure, and his gas tank to be able to do it for 12 rounds. Okay, 10 rounds, whatever. He can go to that. So that works for him. The problem is he's too easy to hit. He has terrible footwork, slow hands, slow feet. Somehow it just worked for him. He finally got in there with Zhilei Zhang, and he got beat up badly. And he got beat by a guy that was in front of him coming for war, but at the same time more calculated, not sloppy, and pretty much better mechanics. Now we saw him, Joyce, defeat Daniel Dubois, where it was constantly jab working. His jab was just all night. We saw him in the best, I'll say it again, the best I've ever seen him look was against Joseph Parker. And against Joseph Parker, that was the most complete I've ever seen him. Now he goes into the Zhilei Zhang fight, and it's like he's back to this, he throws his punches like slaps. His punches were slow. He throws wide shots. He's off balance when he throws punches, and he leaves himself wide open. And pretty much, for Joyce to come back as a better fighter, the majority of what he'd have to do, work behind his jab, take his head off that center line, use some lateral movement as he's coming in, give angles, keep the pressure upstairs, downstairs, not be predictable. That's not an easy thing for Joyce, because how he fights and the fact that he took the name of the Juggernaut, the nickname of the Juggernaut, is because that's what he does. He comes forward, and that's his style. And with his size and his weight, well, he came across a guy on Zhilei Zhang that was even bigger than him. So it was like, okay, now what? And Zhang is underrated as a fighter. But the question is, can Joyce come back a better fighter than what he was? Can he come back as a complete fighter? Because that's what he's not. He's not a complete fighter. He has this one style that works for him. It didn't work against Zhang. The next fighter is Ryan Garcia. Now, Ryan Garcia, basically, a lot of hype. This fight, I asked in my community section, I gave examples of what this fight would resemble more of, and out of the fights that I chose, I don't remember, at this point what was the number one pick, but in my, as a comparison, but for me, this particular fight didn't resemble either. None of those choices that I had, and not that it was supposed to, but this fight will not be looked at the same way. Even though Hearns got knocked out in 3 rounds, but this won't be looked at that way. This won't be looked at like, Benitez versus Leonard. This won't be looked at like, Michael Nunn versus James Toney. This won't be looked at as, Jose Luis Castillo versus Diego Corrales. And those were the fights that I picked. But it won't be looked at like that. It fails simply because Hearns didn't quit. He was knocked out. And he fought his ass off the 3 rounds. He was just basically couldn't stop Marv. He couldn't keep him off him. But he was trying his damnedest. Okay? Corrales and Castillo had wars. And it wasn't about quitting. It's like if I don't continue, it's because I'm unconscious type of thing. Not I can continue, but nah, I had enough. Leonard and Benitez, same thing. You're either going to stop me or we're going to keep going until I stop you or until we get that final bell, but I'm not going to give up. Toney and Nunn. Well, Nunn was winning the fight. Toney never stopped, kept coming, finally got the knockout in the 11th round. This fight was more of Ryan showing he was very limited. Like, let me just say this, see, Ryan doesn't roll under shots. He doesn't slip and counter. He just moves back and just turns his head. He was literally turning his torso, where the back of his head was facing Tank's face, okay? He doesn't roll with punches. He comes in a straight line. His chin stays up in the air. And every time he throws his combinations, he squares up. And he's there to be hit. Tank Davis is too smart for that. Now, the problem is, this is how Ryan has always been fighting. So right now, he doesn't have a trainer. Now, most people are thinking that it's probably going to be Robert Garcia. Because he was already with, Reynoso. Who knows? And he just parted ways with Joe Goosen. Calvin Ford offered to train him. There's other names on that list, but who knows where he's going to end up. But when you've been fighting a certain way for a long time, if you can absorb the information given, If you have a trainer that can correct those things, they understand this has been working for you. You've been getting away with it. But now you got in with an elite guy, and you couldn't do things the way you normally do. So this is what we're preparing for. We're preparing to make you the best fighter to be on top of the food chain to fight against the elite, not meatballs. So that stuff that worked on lesser fighters, the Fortunas, and everybody else that you beat, they may have had decent name, a decent resume, but no, these guys are not elite. The Luke Campbells and all those guys. But now, stepping up in class, you see it's different. And with Ryan, how, he holds up emotionally as well, we don't know, because right now he's the laughingstock of boxing. Not only is he the laughingstock of boxing, but he's aware of that. And he knows that people are looking at him as a quitter. So you see Julio Cesar Chavez and different people calling him a quitter, Pitbull, they're laughing at him. So for him to come back to redeem himself, and he's going up in weight at 140, well, you're going to have bigger punchers up there as well, So we don't know. We'll have to see. This is his first loss, so we'll have to see what he looks like. Who can he get with that will help, that can help bring it out, bring the best out of him. Joe Goosen said Ryan pretty much trains himself. Well, that's really not a good thing if you have a trainer and that trainer is saying you're training yourself, because what that basically means is it's nothing he can tell you. You already think you know it all. And it didn't work against Tank. So his bread and butter, that left hook, his hand speed, didn't mean anything. And now he knows that he didn't look nearly as fast against Tank. Tank is much faster than what they thought. In fact, Tank hands was moving faster than Ryan's. And I said before the fight, I don't think that Ryan is faster than Tank. It's just that Ryan throws fast up like combinations. He takes pride in throwing like fast punches. He wanted to be seen as the fastest guy in boxing as well. And yeah, he has power. But Tank, much faster on his feet, and his shots were quicker. So when I watched him, I said, nah, he's not faster than Tank. I wasn't sold on the fact of him being faster before the fight. During the fight, I could see, no, he's definitely not faster than Tank. And you saw that. Well, for Ryan to get over this loss, to get through the embarrassment, to understand what he needs to work on, to understand, to be a complete fighter, you can't just base your success on power or power and speed. Just that combination of the IQ, the understanding, that mental toughness, the physical toughness to, I'm hurt, but I'm not going to stop. There's no better example in the sport of boxing than Muhammad Ali. Because no matter what Muhammad Ali went through, even an old washed up Ali that was already developing Parkinson's, that was already, basically way past his prime, stood there and got punished. Larry Holmes was hitting that guy with some stuff, man, that prime fighters wouldn't have been able to stand up to. Ali just refused to go down. So just saying. And we see how Ali ended up in the long run overall, and that's the thing when you can take punishment. But, with Ali, he wasn't the guy that was getting beat up a lot. But through time, yeah, all the training and through those fights, it doesn't take but one round. So we can never pinpoint when it started happening. But Ryan doesn't have that dog in him, and that's for sure. Ryan, as long as he don't have too much, it's not a seesaw battle. Like, he got dropped by Luke Campbell, and that was early. But when he got up and started to, fight back, Luke Campbell didn't have anything. But what happens when it's, two top pedigree fighters going back, at it, and you both have power. You both can punch. You both have hand speed. But it comes down to ring IQ and all of that. Ryan doesn't have that in him to keep going. Because I feel strongly that Ryan could have gotten up. I think that he was afraid. Because the referee completely, when he got up and he waved it off, is because Ryan was standing there. He purposely did not get up. I think the body shot hurt him. Now, just because you can walk, he didn't have to be slumped over. I don't think that, we know he didn't want to continue. Okay? At the end, you heard Goosen say, did he hit you in that rib area? Yeah, that's why I didn't want to get up. That came out of Ryan's mouth. So, nobody's hating on Ryan. Stop saying that Julio Cesar Chavez is jealous. Jealous of what? Jealous of what? You can't even compare Ryan's resume to Julio Cesar Chavez's. Like jealous of what? This is just people talking. But in that situation, he didn't want to continue. So his will was broken. Bottom line, Tank beat him into submission. He was hurt by the body shot, didn't want any more, and he knew, damn. And Tank was touching him more and more. He felt that power, and he realized, all right, this little midget is real. All that calling him short and small, Riley, all of them, they learned the hard way. You're talking, but Tank is no pushover. So now, with all that and everything setting in, the smoke is all cleared. What does Ryan do from here, from now on? And remember, can he come back a better fighter than he was? Now, the last fighter on this list is Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua, he's come back already. He has his win against Franklin. So again, let me reiterate. I'm not saying who can come back and win a fight. The potential, who has the potential, okay, to come back, or who at least seemingly has the potential to come back and become a better fighter than what they were. Anthony Joshua came back, he won against Franklin. Now, let me say this about Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua are going to have, no matter what he does, people that just don't like Anthony Joshua are going to always have something to say, okay? But at the end of the day, Anthony Joshua has fast hands when he's confident to let the shots go. He has knockout power in either hand. And when he's confident, let the shots go, you see it. Tall, rangy, okay. Anthony Joshua has physical gifts. We know that he fights himself, okay? We know that his confidence has been shaken. It's kind of cringeworthy when somebody asks him, what's your prediction? Do you think that you win by knockout, or do you think that you win this fight? And he says, if God willing. No, AJ, if you're willing. You have fighters that don't pray, don't believe in no God, don't have a religion, they're not a part of any religion, any of that. But they believe in their skills, they train their ass off, they go in there and they fight, they win. So it's not if God willing, it's if you're willing. What are you willing to do to go in there to secure the win? So when you hear talk like that, people get the impression you might go in there and fold under pressure and even quit, because it looks like you're scared to get hit and you're afraid to open up and fight back. And that does happen to a lot of guys when they lose, especially by knockout. Now, the thing is, he's never been knocked out as a pro in the ring. And pretty much he lost 2 decisions fighting a guy with the wrong style. So it's as simple as that. Now, because of Anthony Joshua showing his weakness being in his confidence, can he come back and become a better fighter than what he was? Well, he's now with Derrick James. Yes, he came back and he beat Franklin. I'm not concerned about the criticism that he faced. I'm not concerned about, the so-called boxing experts that says he can't beat Wilder, or he can't beat Fury, or he needs to retire. That's yet to be seen. But he's with Derrick James, and if Derrick James can get that dog to come out of him, if he can help him to believe in himself, if he can show him this is what you need to do, and then AJ can display it and it works, and he gets this confidence that, yeah, okay. The thing is, all that is beautiful. But what Anthony Joshua is going to have to do is get that wake the fuck up call, where you have to apply this, man. Don't depend on luck. Don't depend on your opponent to have a bad night. You depend on you to break him down and take it from him. You would never hear Floyd Mayweather say no bullshit about if God willing. No, Floyd Mayweather is going to find out what you're good at. He's going to take that shit away. You see what Tank Davis was doing in the fight against Ryan? When he was backing up and he was moving, and then you notice how he started coming forward? He started to smother that shot, and Tank was making him miss that left hook. Well, when you can't land your money shot, and all you depend on is speed and power, now what? Right? So this is what AJ has to learn. How to take away his opponent's best weapons, not just try to stay away from it. Which is why, when Max Kellerman was talking about he didn't believe anything about Fury going to take the fight to Wilder, and I said, see, these guys are not good. These fighters are limited and they're not nearly as skillful as people think they are. And these so-called boxing experts are nothing but opinionated people, highly opinionated, arrogant people. If you're worried about Wilder coming forward, landing the jab right hand, well, if you're backing him up, he can't do that now, can he? So why would you not take it to him? You're taller, much bigger and heavier, and pretty much get a better opportunity to crack him with a hard shot, because now you're coming forward with momentum and with your weight behind it. So for people saying Fury has to stay away and back up, well, that's what you're saying. And that's the way you train your fighter. But you're still giving Wilder every chance to land that shot because you're allowing him to fight and come forward. But if you're pushing him backwards, if you're doing what Fury was doing and smothering him, frustrating him, and then he starts to try to throw those windmill shots to try to land something because he can't land his bread and butter, well, eventually what's going to happen? It gives you the opportunity to catch him. And that's what you do. Take away what the fighter does well. Do not depend on them to have an off night. Do not depend on them to slip up, you get lucky, or slip up and hope that some deity saves you from this fight. No, it's what you are willing to go in the ring and do. So, his confidence is tampered with. He listens to what people say. He fights himself in the ring. He fights himself in training. He fights himself in interviews. Everything he says is always like he's just not sure about no one thing about himself. And we know that before he wasn't talking like that. But at the same time, he just pretty much shut a guy out that Dillian Whyte struggled with, and most people feel like Dillian Whyte lost. Yet, the same people saying Dillian Whyte will beat Anthony Joshua. What? Okay. So we know that that's just talk. And Dillian Whyte is someone that, AJ knocked him out when he fought. So, just saying, he has the tools. He just needs to have them polished up. And if Derek James is able to bring that out of him, we could possibly see a better version of AJ. So, with all that being said, does AJ potentially have the best chance on this list to be the fighter that can come back a better fighter than he was? Talk to me in the comment section. Never fall in love with lies. Remember, the truth brings hate out of people, and I will catch y'all on the next video.